Okay, so at the start of the show, we were roasting some veggies, and at the very end of that segment, I decided to crank up the broiler and just get them a little bit caramelized. So that's what's happening right now. I'm going to turn those roasted veggies, which are absolutely fabulous and taste wonderful, and would be great just as a side if you're grilling a steak or you're grilling chicken breasts, or you know, even fish, that'd make the perfect nice light side dish. But if you want to do something a little more with the veggies, I'm going to show you two different recipes that I do with them all the time. First is a pasta dish, and I'm super excited. I didn't even know this existed, but boy, I'm going to start buying it. There is new, and we just picked this up right at Festival Foods, penne pasta, made by one of the brands I use all the time, that cooks in 3 minutes flat. So for people who say they don't have time to get dinner on the table, yes you do. You can do this in 3 minutes. So in goes our pasta into our salted boiling water. What they did is they made the penne pasta a little bit smaller, and again, as we talked about earlier, smaller cooks faster, and they must have done some other things to the recipe to, you know, make it cook quicker, which is all good in my book. So I'm just going to let that cook al dente. I don't want to overcook it, and Ann's going to make sure I don't, and we'll get back to you in just a little bit. Now, besides making a pasta dish with the roasted vegetables, this is my sister's all-time favorite. It's an appetizer. Sometimes we'll even have it as a main meal with a salad. Basically, it's a roasted vegetable bruschetta or bruschetta. So basically, I'm starting with some French bread that I just want to slice up thin, and I'm slicing it on the bias here. When people think of bruschetta, you normally would think of a tomato bruschetta. And so this is something a little bit different. But basically, we're taking a baguette and slicing it thin, a little olive oil. Sometimes I'll rub the bread with some clove of garlic to give it a little garlic flavor. A little bit of Italian seasoning, maybe a little bit of salt and pepper. Thank you, Ann. And then into the oven, this goes for about 10 minutes or so. Just keep an eye on it until it gets nice and crisp, and we've got some right here. So here is our bruschetta, all ready to plate up. Makes a really nice light appetizer. So I like to set it on a plate like this. This is a great like movie night. Instead of popcorn, you want to be a little more healthy and a little more upscale. Do something like this. That's hot, Ann, so be careful. Now I want to show you my roasted vegetables, which I'm so excited about because they're absolutely gorgeous. And you notice we did a big, huge batch of them, right? Remember that? They tend, just like a pot roast or, you know, something that's going to roast, they tend to shrink down. So when you're putting that big, huge bowl together and you're going, wow, that's a lot of vegetables, more is actually better because they really do shrink down. And you see the brown, the wonderful brown spots? That is goodness. So that is what you're looking for. And if you don't have that, crank up the broiler until you get that. Okay, so at this point, I take my roasted vegetables and I just spoon them, and it's okay if they're kind of overflowing. We kind of almost use this. This is something we actually do. I don't get to see my sister very often, so it's something we actually do during movie night. We'll make a bunch of different hors d'oeuvres like this, rent some great movies, have kind of a girlfriend thing going on, and we'll do some really nice stuff like this that is actually tastes great, but it's actually good for you. Okay, so basically we got our vegetables, and be generous with those. Like I say, it's more of a knife and fork kind of thing. Over our baguette. And then what you can do is, we're not done yet. I like to dress it up a little bit. I took some balsamic vinegar, and you can, basically I heated it up in a pan to make, and I just took about 1/4 cup, and I very carefully simmered it until it almost like coats the back of the spoon and becomes syrupy. Can you see that? And basically you've got something like that they do at the restaurants that you can do at home. Now very careful you have to be, because this stuff can burn and get sticky, and it just concentrates the flavors of what it does. And it's just, wow, it's sweet and wonderful with these roasted vegetables. You can also do, of course, a little bit of cheese on top too. So, but that is fantastic. That is one of my favorite appetizers. Nice and light, a veggie bruschetta. Certainly you could throw a little cheese on top if you wanted to. Yum. Okay, dish number 2. We still have all those wonderful roasted veggies. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a couple tablespoons of olive oil, because we've got that big batch of pasta, a couple of teaspoons of just regular balsamic vinegar, this stuff is strong stuff, so we don't want to use the glaze that we were talking about. All right, a little bit of salt and pepper, and we're actually going to do some fresh tomatoes. I like to use, if you don't have tomatoes from the garden, I like to use Roma tomatoes, which normally are good all year long, but I want to seed and dice them, so I don't really want to use the seeds. So kind of the way I do it is just kind of go down it this way.
How's your pasta?
Pasta, how is my pasta? It's been 3 minutes. I'm getting it out of there. Don't want to overcook it. I just love this idea. This is genius. Cooks up perfectly. I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to let that drain. One more tomato. So we basically have the roasted vegetables, but then we're going to have the fresh element here with the fresh tomato. And boy, when the tomatoes are ripe out of the garden, and all those vegetables actually are, at the farmer's market, this recipe just gets better and better. But you can make this all year round. Really, the produce at the grocery stores has come so far. And used to be, remember when tomatoes were just horrible if you didn't get them in summer at the grocery store. Now, you know what? They have vine-ripe tomatoes and wonderful tomatoes at the grocery store pretty much year-round. All right, so I'm just finally dicing up my tomatoes, and we're just about ready to throw this whole dish together. And this is a quick fix. All right, Hillary gave me a little more time to put this together. We're just about at the finish line. She said, all right, you'll get to eat afterwards. Okay, fresh garlic. We're keeping things really fresh here, so we've got about 3 cloves of fresh garlic. And I'm just going to mince up. Get that in there with our olive oil, balsamic vinegar, salt and pepper. Do a little more oil. I got a big batch of pasta there. All right, 2 tablespoons is what we were looking for. In go our tomatoes. So it's almost like a bruschetta with the tomatoes and the garlic. But then we're going to throw our pasta in. Also going to throw some fresh basil in. Just going to take my basil leaves, a few of them, roll them up, give them what the chefs say, my chef friends say, is a quick chiffonade. All right, now I've got my roasted vegetables. Get them all in here. This is just one of my favorite dishes. This is just light, but full of flavor. I think eating raw vegetables is great, but boy, it can get boring after a while. And this is a great way to eat your veggies. All right, in goes our warm pasta. That warm pasta in there. And I want to coat that now, gently coat that. And that's going to kind of cook those tomatoes a little bit. You get the idea? Look at that. It smells amazing because we had that warm pasta and we've got our cool, fresh tomatoes. All right, I've got a big pretty dish. Cleaning up my mess here. Thank you, Ann. Then I'm going to put this on. Love to use these white platters, and you could take this to the table, one big white platter, or you can plate it individually. It's up to you. But how gorgeous is this? Oh yeah, they'll eat the veggies if you make them like this. A little bit of grated Parmesan cheese on top, fresh basil, and I am a happy camper. I don't know about you. My roasted vegetable and pasta dish, recipes on our website.